Hello, everybody, and welcome to In the Flow with your spiritual CFO, Robin Wilt, and Jessica Kay, myself. And we are working with Venus and retrograde right now through to April 12th. So, with this important transit that we have going on, Robin is going to lead us in some forgiveness work. So, Robin, take us away.
Yeah, so let's just chat a little bit about those two things separately. So Venus is the planet of love, of course, but also like self-love and self-worth. It's also the planet of what we value. It is a benefic planet, so it can bring us blessings. So when a planet is in retrograde, it appears to be moving backwards, so it ends up going instead of going forward through the signs, it's going backward through the signs. So it's going to be retrograding, I believe, from March 1st until April 12th. And it's going to start out in Aries and then retrograde back into Pisces. So very different energies. Like Aries is very much like, let's go, let's do this. I'm all about me, me, me. And then Pisces is more like that dreamy kind of collective, watery energy. Aries is the fire sign. So just noticing how your energy kind of shifts during this month and a half that we have of Venus going retrograde. You could find themes that are related to Venus being highlighted, or maybe things that you've been struggling with. Maybe you gain some additional clarity around those. Maybe it's around, typically it could be around relationships, but it could also be around the things that you value. Um, and for me, forgiveness has been such a huge part of my own journey towards loving myself, towards loving other people in my life. Like it used to be a very, like most of us can be, it used to be very in that old paradigm of like, the victim kind of persecutor energy where it's like we're always the victim in a situation and that other person is the bad guy or gal, whatever. So when we move into like a higher spiritual level of forgiveness, we look at it from that spiritual perspective of, right, people still need to, like, if they do something that's illegal or if they do something that's like harmful, right, they still need to have the accountability on the earth plane. I'm not saying anything about that, but on the spiritual level, we look at it as, okay, our souls chose to come together and have this interaction, this challenge, this growth, this meeting, so our souls could grow and evolve. So usually the people that we have the most challenge forgiving are those obviously, right, who we feel like they really are the persecutor, or we really feel like we were the victim in a situation. But it can also come up like some of the things that I've had a hard time forgiving. I realized it was actually I was having a hard time forgiving myself. So, right, I was mad at myself that I stuck around or that I allowed myself to be treated a certain way. Um, the other beautiful thing about forgiveness is we kind of let everybody off the hook in a way, spiritually, energetically, which can really shift energy. Like when you do this work, I mean, it has changed my life, and I've seen it like with clients, just it can change your life so much to really hone in on this vibration of forgiveness. And if it's hard for you, a lot of times it's like that pimple that wants to pop. So sometimes the person that comes up that we need to forgive, it can be very challenging. And in the moment, we're like, I don't want to forgive that person. Like we want to hold on to that, like I'm right kind of energy. So the thing that I'll say about that is just be open and willing. I promise you it gets easier. It's kind of a gradual process. So if you have that person that you're just really struggling with and they pop up as we move through this process, just trust that it will get easier with time. And we'll talk about like things that you can do moving forward. Um, all right, I think that's it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So just find a comfortable seat. You can lay down, you can be seated upright. It doesn't really matter. The beautiful part about all of this is that there's no right or wrong. You're still going to get some kind of benefit from this. Um, so, a few resources I'll share with you are Radical Forgiveness by Colin tipping, I think, and then also Ho'oponopono, which is what we're going to use here. So it's the forgiveness prayer. There's lots of different ways I'm sure that you can use it. I typically go through, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you. So if you want to repeat these things to yourself as I'm saying them, you can repeat them in your head, you can repeat them out loud. Um, Again, there's no right or wrong, just be open to what's coming through. And I'll share one more thing actually before we get started. So a lot of times I will lead clients through this work, and like somebody that they haven't talked to in years, then they'll reach out to them and they'll have like this really beautiful healing conversation. Or you see that person and you don't have that emotional charge anymore. So just be open, especially since it's Venus retrograde. Like you could have those encounters with people, and not to expect it because right, like there's so many different things that could happen, but just know that we're in this time of healing. We're in this time of kind of reevaluation and rebirth. So, okay, now we'll get started. All right. So, finding that comfortable seat. And I just invite you to take a few deep breaths. Maybe starting to notice if your ego is already doing with the chatter and like, oh, this is bullshit. This isn't going to work. I don't want to forgive this person. Just noticing whatever's coming up. Just really sinking deeper and deeper into your body. So we're going to call in our angels and our guides. If I call in any energy that you don't want, you can just delete it. You don't have to have it come into your space, but just know in this safe space that we're creating, we are asking for the highest and the best for all parties involved. We're going to call in Kuan Yin for compassion and that beautiful feminine energy. We're going to call in any karmic balancing that can happen through this, any releasing of current or past life energies between you and this person or you and this connection. We're just asking for the highest and best again for all parties involved. Asking for this to be a release, a activation, a healing, whatever it is that needs to come through for you in this now moment. Maybe setting an intention. So it could be something as simple as the word resolution. It could just be forgiveness. It could be release. It could be acceptance. And let me see how my guides are talking me through this because there's lots of different ways that we can do this, but obviously we're working with multiple energies since we're on the podcast. So let me just see what the methodology is that is going to work for all of us. Okay, so this is actually one of my favorites in a group. All right, so we are going to imagine a little energetic bonfire in the center of our safe space that we have here. And as we move through this, anything that comes up, you're just going to throw that energy into the bonfire. So continuing to breathe, continuing to stay present with what's coming up. You can just notice the mental chatter if it continues to pop in about this person, place, or situation. But I just invite you, if it's something that's popping into your awareness, just throw it into the fire. And we're actually going to do a few different steps and kind of getting more information. So first of all, we're going to do the energetic bonfire. So just as you go through your emotional Rolodex, and for all of you youngies out there, that's a thing we used to use back in the day that kept all of our phone numbers in it. But just energetically going through your list of people in your life, past, present, or future, just starting to throw any energy in the bonfire that you want to release. Maybe it's anger towards that old ex, or sadness towards your mom or your dad. Maybe it's an old boss that really pissed you off. Just throwing all of that energy into the fire. We're kind of doing a very high level sweep at this point. And again, trusting whatever comes up. A lot of times I'll have people show up that I'm like, really? Like some random person from the grocery store or somebody from third grade. Like, just, I promise you, put it in the bonfire, put the energy in there, allow it to be released. Allowing any emotions that want to come up, just being present, continuing to put that energy into the bonfire. You can put your any energy towards yourself as well, maybe anger towards yourself, or why did I do that? Why did I put up with this? Maybe times that you were the persecutor and somebody else was the victim in your life. Whatever that is, putting all of that energy into the bonfire, continuing to feel that beautiful fire energy as it cleanses and purifies and releases all of this energy for us. Just a few more moments. Actually sweeping your body. So also sometimes like what I'm hearing is like um, sometimes we can't even pinpoint it to a specific person. Like it's just energy that's now trapped in our body that needs to be released. So breathing into any of those spots and also sending that energy into the circle for release. And as we're wrapping up with that, just continuing to send that energy from our bodies, I'm going to do a little bit of Ho'oponopono on this energy as the fire continues to release. So I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. If tapping is in your practice, feel free to tap on your body and just continue to like release that energy. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. Just a few more moments. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. Okay, there we go. Oh, there's that shift. All right. So still with your eyes closed, the next part that we're going to move into, and if you still have like little energies popping up, you can still continue to throw them into the fire. That's fine. But we're going to move into kind of the next layer since we've created all this space, and we're going to move into a specific person, place, or situation that we can really hone into and that we can really bring this vibration of forgiveness. So I invite you to allow a person, place, situation, circumstance to make itself known to you. And again, without judgment, without pushing it away, just see what comes up. Be present to it, be open. You don't have to be happy about it. You don't have to feel like it's going to work. I promise you, it will work over time. It will continue to shift and grow. Even with us being resistant or even with us not wanting to do it, I promise you it definitely still works. So take this as your opportunity to set yourself free, right? We have this beautiful supportive Venus energy here with us. We have all of our angels and guides. My angels and guides led me to want to do this tonight. So just trusting this beautiful alignment that has come forward to help us to free us from these things that hold us back from actually more love and more joy that we can have in our lives. All right, so after you have this person, place, or situation, we are going to do some targeted Ho'oponopono on them. But first, I actually want to give you the opportunity to speak to this person energetically. So this is another beautiful thing that is a byproduct of this work, is that we can create resolution with someone energetically that we don't ever have to see their face in real life ever again. So I'm going to give you some space. I'm going to do some energy work on the group to just assist with this. So have a conversation with this person. Tell them anything that you need to get off your chest. You don't need to be nice about it. You don't need to be politically correct. Say whatever you need to say, and also allow them to speak back to you. You'll be surprised at what comes forward. So I'm going to be quiet for a few moments and just hold the space and do some energy work. So as we're wrapping up with this conversation, I'm going to go through some Ho'oponopono. Please feel free, if you're still having that dialogue, if you're still having that conversation, feel free to continue it as I move into some forgiveness on our behalf. Again, you can say this out loud, you can just receive it. You can say it in your head, whatever works for you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. Just noticing any emotion to any of the words that I'm using. You can journal about that later on. Just notice how that energy moves through your body. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I forgive you for everything that you did wrong. I forgive you for everything that you did right. I forgive myself for everything I did wrong, for everything I did right. Forgive myself for staying. I forgive myself for leaving. I forgive myself for loving. I forgive myself for hating. Forgive, I forgive, I forgive. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for this experience. Thank you for this growth. Thank you for this unfolding. Thank you for this healing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I'm sorry for projecting my wounds onto you. Sorry for making you the bad guy. Sorry for making myself the victim. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're also going to cut cords, which is another great thing to do during Venus retrograde. So this is just clearing up the energy between you and this other person. It doesn't mean that it severs the connection. It can mean that. But we're just really just asking the universe for how that's going to look when we cut cords, or this is my perception of it and what I've seen. So just remember that it could be necessary to cut cords with the same person like 10 times, right? We don't know as we move through this, but just trust that the energy is going to be cleaned up to the extent that it can be in this moment. Because if we're still meant to learn something from someone, even if they leave our lives physically, they could still be there energetically until the lesson is integrated and accepted, or until we release them, fully. So angels, guardians, and guides, we ask, and actually we're going to call on Archangel Michael, like using him for cutting cords. So we ask that you cut any cords, connections, tethers, projections of promises, vows, energies in all directions of time and space in this lifetime and any others, any energy that might be out there that we did not specifically name, that is no longer serving us, that is no longer in the highest and best of all parties. We ask for the release of this energy to support everyone involved. Releasing, releasing, releasing. Just notice how your body feels as these cords are being cut or disconnected. Maybe you feel sadness, maybe you feel a lightness. There's no right or wrong. That may continue to shift as the days move on. We are at the very beginning of the retrograde, so you might want to go back and listen to this a few times. Also, taking this time to set an intention for this period. So I realized recently that me choosing myself is like a big theme of this energy. So you can borrow that if you need to. You can obviously take anything that's coming in for you. You can ponder on it or be open to that. But just asking Venus, asking this energy that's here for us, what would be supportive for us to call forward over this like 45-day period. So the energy is starting to kind of calm down and release completely. So just taking a few more deep breaths as this continues to settle. We're going to talk about a few things that you can do moving forward to help with this energy and to continue to support this forgiveness, this release that's coming forward for you. So giving thanks to the energies that showed up, right? It's really beautiful actually when we look at it from the spiritual level. Like these people don't have to show up. I've actually tried to do work with people before, like energetically, and their soul did not want to show up. So just know that if somebody showed up, like it also means that on a soul level, that they're also seeking this healing and this forgiveness and this process. So maybe giving them thanks, maybe sending them off with some gratitude, Oh, let me see if anything else is coming through. No, so you can, in your own way and in your own time, slowly start to come back. I always like to pull a few cards after we do forgiveness work too, and then we'll talk about. I would love if Jessica also wants to share. I always like hearing what comes up for people. You want to share first, Jessica, actually? Yeah.
Yeah, that was so beautiful. So forgiveness is also one of my big things. Like I've been working on it, like actively working on it in groups and individually for more than 10 years. And it's been the place of the most profound shifts. And for me, I've been really, as I've been talking with us, I've been really trying to be in the heart space. And that's where I feel like the forgiveness is so much like wherever there's kind of blockages or any resistance, and that fits right along with this Venus in retrograde. Like, of course, the place of our love and where that's blocked is where we hold on to those resentments and those hard feelings. And I also want to say like how perfect timing this is because we do have Venus in retrograde going on, but we also have a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. And the lunar eclipse, I think, is March 13th, and that's in Virgo. So we're working with that energy. Solar eclipse March 29th in Aries. And that's literally working around these themes of how can we clean up things in our lives so that we can move forward in a big and bold new way. And what better way than Venus in retrograde supporting us, allowing space for that. So perfect offering. And for me, what really came up was there's a lot of relationships, especially around the feminine, that are shifting for me and opening up into space. I've actually, it's interesting, not to toot my own horn, but it's like I've been doing a lot of work the last several years, and I've noticed that in the past, where especially with my work and career, I've had very strong feminine leaders that were not positive. There was a lot of competition, there was a lot of them feeling threatened. So there was a lot of, being small and unseen so that it's safe to be in this world. And I know it's totally from them having to navigate this really strong masculine, world that is government. Um, so it's interesting because what I've been drawing in now more is a lot of supportive women who are building community, who don't want to be at the front and at the lead, but want us all to kind of push each other forward. And I'm just like falling into that more and more. But I also realize like some of that, like I wasn't certain. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know how to act because it's been very few and far between where I've experienced that strong supportive feminine. So it's like, oh, okay, here's a deeper level of you get to experience it and also let go of any of those blockages that prevent you from experiencing it more. And also from me, like completely being at one with that energy. So it's like, oh, this is great. Like, what is preventing me from falling more and more into my divine feminine? And how can I forgive myself and open up to that and really feel that deeply in my being? So it's like, this was the beautiful opportunity for me to alchemize all of that that's been going on over the last months, even with some of those relationships at work changing in a really positive way. And like just like putting awareness on it, allowing some of those extra things to fall away and to really fall into acceptance and surrender around the feminine. So thank you so much for that beautiful meditation that we just did. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's interesting because as I don't know if maybe I've had this insight before, but it came through like as we were moving through it, like how much the feminine energy is associated with forgiveness. Like, but I mean, it takes strength to forgive. Like, it's not an easy thing, like I always feel like, and I don't say this like from a cocky standpoint, I always think that like when people find their way to me to like do forgiveness, you can always tell that like how evolved they are because right, you're not going to catch like most people doing this level of forgiveness. Like it's a very challenging perspective to take, especially when we're talking about like, I've worked with people that had like sexual trauma that they're trying to forgive or, things where they were like really violated. I said that really weird. They were like really violated. So it's definitely not an easy journey to take at all, but it is like it's life changing and so fulfilling. And I mean, yeah, like I think I've been on the forgiveness train for about 10 years. it's a journey for sure, right? And it's something that you can like keep coming back to. Um, and thank you for reminding us about the eclipses because that totally had fallen off my radar, so focused on some of the other stuff. Um, so I want to share with you briefly like some things that you can do moving forward, right? Like, and Jessica, I would love to hear about your forgiveness tools as well. So I did this experiment for 21 days. And I love to use this example because it really does, it showed me like how profound forgiveness was. There was a lady that I used to work with that I hated this lady. Like, I was such a, like, I used to have a lot of problems with anger when I was younger. And this lady just, she irritated the shit out of me. She was just one of those people that like was a bad office companion to have. And when I had to be with her, I was like, I mean, I was going through like the roughest period of my life, and they stuck me in a room with this person, and they already knew I couldn't stand her. I'm like, why of all people did you put me in a room with her? So anyway, I had just gotten divorced. My dad had just died. I was the executor of his will. Like my mom was sick. I mean, literally, I was like a country song. Like everything that was wrong in my life, like was during that time period. And I just wanted to like work in a, I just wanted it to be quiet, you know, like I couldn't handle like anything else. And here I was in this room with this person, and forgiveness, of course, found me. And I started doing forgiveness work with her every night. I did it for like, I think 21 days is what I did it. And I would just sit in bed for like 5 seconds, and I would hold her image in my awareness. And at first, I couldn't even bring her in. Like, it was like, oh God, like, I don't even want her energy here. I can't stand her. Like, I don't want to do this. I mean, it was like all the mental chatter and like the resistance. And I just kept doing it. Like, I just kept showing up, like, okay, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. And I kid you not, like, I ended up seeing her like maybe a month or two after I did that. And I was legitimately able to like give her a hug, say hi to her, like wish her the best. Like I wanted nothing for her, but like to be happy and healthy and like joyful. And it really, like, it was such a pivotal moment in my experience of so many things. Like it was a really beautiful experience that I got to have, right? To go from really not being able to like even stand to be around this person, like she just grated on my nerves, to like being able to hug her and like actually wish that, you know, she was like happy and healthy and, you know, all the things. So I promise you, like, show up with the resistance, show up with the irritation, the words. I have a lot of people that are like, I'm not, um, please forgive me, right? That one can trigger us a lot. Like, what am I asking them to forgive me for? Me? Like, it's cute to see like all the mental stuff. So try that, try the 21 days. If you want something longer, obviously go back and listen to this. But I promise you, it can even be like the 5 seconds before you go to sleep, like pulling that person into your awareness. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. Send them away and be done. And just notice over 21 days, like how things shift in your life, even, right? Like not only with that person, but just in your life, because it takes a lot of, it binds up a lot of our energy when we're holding that so what's the opposite of forgiveness, right? Like anger or resentment, or when we're holding on to like those lower vibrational energies towards a person or a situation, it really does bind up our energy quite a bit, and it doesn't like allow things to flow in your life, in your body. It can show up a lot in people's bodies. I've seen that as well. So yeah, what about you, Jessica? Any insights or things that you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been really working on embodiment. So it's like going into the body and even starting with like, where is there unforgiveness? So for me, I've been mostly working with the heart, and I find like anything that's kind of painful or blocked around the heart for me has been unforgiveness or lack of love. But you can even set that intention and just go into the body and like show me, like, where is it hurt? Where is there constriction? And I found like every time I do that, like what's showing up is a situation, a person, or a place, kind of like what you said, and then holding space with that. Um, and what I have been doing a little bit more recently is just starting with putting myself in a space of love, sitting in my heart space. You know, you can use a mantra, whatever it is, but bring in what love feels like not like, um, romantic love, but like, what does it feel like when somebody really loves you? What does that feel like inside of yourself? When you can really open up to loving yourself, like what does that frequency feel like? And even if that those may be hard, because if we haven't felt it before, it may be hard for us to tap into that, then that's even tapping into the divine or into like Mother Earth. Like what does that feel like in your body? And just kind of holding that in your body. So starting from that place and then finding where is that restriction, where is that unforgiveness, and going to that place with that energy. And then for me, it's like, okay, so I give it to that area of my body, that love. And if a story pops up or a person, then since I have kind of surrounded myself in love, then I kind of bring them up and I send them love. And then I do that for however long I want, and I let that visualization go. And then I once again send love to myself and say this is definitely based on some Buddhist ideas. And I will say that doing that alone, so it's like in our minds, we're, this neuroplasticity, we're changing the script. So there's this one person, every time I thought of her, I would just like all of me would just contract. And so love is this expansive energy. So I just changed the script with how I responded. Like when she would come into my mind, I would just send her love. And so I got into this habit of sending her love whenever she was around. And what that did for me was it unpacked it enough to where I could start working on the forgiveness part. Because, in doing this for so long, there's some people that I feel so hurt and damaged by them that I don't even know where to start. Like I want to forgive them and I don't even know where to start because it just makes me collapse in on myself. So that's where I have really moved to this like sending love throughout my body, throughout my energy field, then moving into a place of working with that person and just sending them love. And in the process of that, it unravels it. It's like this knot that's really tight kind of starts opening up a little bit, and we know how we can start pulling it apart. So that's where I would say if you feel stuck, if you're like, I really want to do this work, Jessica and Robin, and I can't do it. And then, also sitting with yourself, because I would find myself like so distraught that I just needed to send myself love so I could get to the place where I could do that with other people. And there's always also the, idea that working on the most difficult person is probably not who you want to start with. You got to work on your forgiveness muscle. So even forgiving those simple day-to-day things with people that you may live with or your family members. So there's different ways to kind of take it apart and be kind to yourself in the process. Like this is something where we're looking for expansion. We're looking to untie those knots so that we can expand. And so it's really important that you start on the foundation of self-love and kindness and doing that for you. So not to be critical with yourself when you get in the midst and like, I don't know why I can't, like any of that language, really looking at that and saying, okay, oftentimes we have to start with ourselves. And that's just like, I'm going to show myself love and kindness and tenderness while I'm trying to work through this, which then goes back into what we talk about almost every time, self-care. Like, so sometimes like I want to go into the bath when I do this with some Epsom salts and just, sit there and hold myself in love, feeling surrounded by it. So put yourself in an environment that is supportive, that maybe that's nature, maybe that's the beach, maybe that's with a fire. Like, where do you feel supported to do this work so that your energy can start moving? And that's really, I'm going to mention the eclipses again, but that's what these eclipses are about, is like, how do we clean up our life so that we can really move forward in a bold way? And part of that is cleaning up the stuff that's been holding us back and taking our energy. So how can we clean that up so that we can move forward? And that's really what it came down to for me with some of the hard situations was I am no longer going to hold on to hatred because it's actually destroying me and preventing me from moving forward. And I don't like the person enough to allow them to impact my life that way. So it was like, you know what? You could have it because my future is so much more important than the hurts of my past. And I really started getting in alignment with that as I moved forward with my mission, my purpose. And that really like gave me the energy I needed to move forward to do this work.
Well said. I like the, like the low hanging fruit. It's always easier to start with, the things that don't trigger us as much. And then sometimes, the other stuff comes. So it's interesting for sure. I also I love what you're talking about, like just sending love. A lot of times I'll do that. Like if it's a person that I still struggle with, it's like in my life every day, because sometimes a lot of the times we work on people that, they've passed, or it's like, a past loved one or past boyfriend or girlfriend. And, it's fairly easy to like work energetically with it. But when that person is still in your life and you're very much like having all these emotions coming up in the moment, it can feel like very much, it can just feel overwhelming. So I'll do that a lot of times where if the person pops up or if I'm with them, I love you, I forgive you. I love you, I forgive you. Um, because energetically, like you're shifting a lot when you do that. You don't even realize it. Like you don't even have to say anything. You don't even have to vocalize it. You don't even have to tell the other person. Like energetically, they are receiving that. So yeah, just play around with it. And we would love to hear, what works for y'all, what comes up. And again, don't be surprised. Like you can have some really big releases in your life and just really a lot of like forward momentum by doing this work. So, and right, if Jessica and I have both been doing it for 10 years, like it really is something that you continue to like work with and, um, something that you can continue to lean on, like I certainly have. So, yeah, thank you all for joining us. Do you have anything else you want to share before we close out or?
No, thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much, Robin, for sharing this with us. And let us know, like, how did you enjoy this kind of experiential podcast? What came up and what's moving through you? We would love to hear more about that. We appreciate you. I appreciate you, Robin.
No, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you guys for joining us. Yeah, we'll catch you in the next episode. Happy Venus retrograde.
Bye.
I can see the stars align, dance around the moon every night. And now my eyes are open wide, and the sky has never looked so bright. Now I don't need to see the road to believe